Elijah. Thanks for joining. I'm a little early because this Word of the Day Wednesdays is going to be a little different than previous Word of the Day Wednesdays. I have a guest coming on. So normally my Word of the Day Wednesdays piggyback off of my blog that I release every Monday. And this month I'm doing a series on entrepreneurs. And so I'm interviewing local entrepreneurs and, learning more about their journey with becoming sustainable, becoming a small business owner. So because I'm doing that series on my blog, I decided to invite the guests on my live. So you'll be hearing from a variety of people this month who've been featured on my blog. And if you do miss any of the Word of the Day Wednesdays, they're all on my YouTube page. So don't fret, don't cry, don't stress. I'm so mad at you, Elijah, because literally I mentioned you in my newsletter. I think I mentioned you in my blog. So I'm already hyping you up on my platforms. You know what I'm saying? I hear some like dinging, and I don't know if that means I need to do something. Oh, she can't join. Give me 1 second. I'm talking to the guest who's supposed to be trying to get on here. Hey, Dr. Wade. You know what's so funny? I do not know your real name, Dr. Wade. I don't know if I'm supposed to know it, and I think that's the thing about Instagram. When you connect with people on Instagram, all you know is their username. So even now with this new Instagram account that I have, I refollow people that I was already following on my old Instagram account, and some of them refollow me, others didn't, and I know it's simply because they're like, who is Nicole Miller? Like, they only know me as HCOHB, which is my old username account. Oh, you're here, Lisa's here, you guys, she made it. Lisa here, you made it. There's some people in the room with us. Shout out to my peeps. Portia's here, Alicia's here. Elijah may have dipped out. I think Dr. Wade is here. So anyways, how are you? How was your day?
It was good. It was a little bit different than usual, but it was good. How was your day?
Girl, I think that's like the entrepreneur's mantra, it's different than usual. Like, there is no necessarily set thing. I think I did an interview recently and I was asked, like, well, how do I map out my day each day, or what do I do each day? And so for me, I don't know if you're like this, but I wake up and I have to look at my calendar, because it's like, well, what meetings are there that weren't there yesterday and aren't going to be there tomorrow? And definitely check my emails. Like, okay, what's going on? Who do I need to respond to? So to answer your question, definitely unorthodox. I got a really late start. I was dragging, but finally kicked my butt into gear and got some things done. But I'll be up tonight writing because, as a writer, you just kind of do it when you're inspired. There's no, hey, Joe. There's no like set timing with that. It's different. So that's that. Anyways, it looks like some people are on here. It's almost 6 o'clock. We will go ahead and get started. Welcome to my Word of the Day Wednesdays. My name is Nicole D. Miller, author of Stories for the Urban Soul, which is a compilation of Black stories featuring various stories with women and men who are young adults dealing with parenting, divorce, heartbreak, social injustices, a variety of things that are relatable. However, it has a spiritual component, so faith-based and kind of like a chicken soup for the soul. So anyways, I'm super excited, you guys. As you know, I've been doing Word of the Day Wednesdays since last summer. I didn't realize it had been that long, and now it's like taking a whole new turn because I have a guest here. I have a guest. This is Lisa Nichols. She's a CEO, career transitioning coach. I'm so excited because I literally have only met you once in person, but I feel like we've been connected. Like, I feel like I've been following you. I feel like we have mutual friends, and it's a spiritual thing to me. And so when I thought of like, well, who do I want to feature on my blog this month? you were definitely one of those that I wanted to reach out to. So
Thanks.
for those of you who don't know, I do a blog, betterthanwine.net, and every week I share, different things that are on my heart. I've been doing this blog for about 10 years now. It'll be 10 years this year, craziness.
That's amazing.
And I decided to do a series in entrepreneurship. So the series is how I got started, life of an entrepreneur, how I got started. And so Lisa is my very, very first guest. So before we get into like the questions that are featured on that blog, why don't you just share, Lisa, a little bit more about yourself to the people on here, the people that'll be watching, and more of my audience.
Yes, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I feel honored to be the first one. And I feel the same way. We've been connecting on social media and virtually so much that it does feel like we've known each other more than just meeting one time.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that.
Yay.
But yeah, so I am a coach and a consultant. And what I do is I work with people, with business leaders, helping them to navigate career transitions. A lot of times that is mid to senior level individuals who are looking for that next move in their career, whether it's transitioning to a new role, a new industry, or maybe taking a completely different path altogether. And so I love to work with people in those key moments when they're transitioning in their career, as well as I'm a consultant with corporate teams and working with leaders who want to empower their teams and really build a supportive environment for their people and expand equity in the workplace. So I'm very passionate about helping. Really, when it comes down to it, I work with people on communication, how to really own your worth and learn to communicate that, and how to create spaces where everyone can communicate and feel heard and understood. So that's me in a nutshell.
I love that, Lisa, because I literally was just talking to a friend today about the need for relationship building. We were just talking about social media, and being online and virtual can make us think we're getting these needs met, but we're not really if we're not developing relationships. And specifically in the work culture, how so many corporations can be about the bottom line, just kind of hiring and firing, and it's all about the numbers. And yet there's other people such as yourself who value like work culture, value people, making sure everyone is getting edified and growing in that way. And so I love hearing that you do that. I didn't know about that second part of what you offer, but I think you also like own a whole coffee shop too. So, I mean, you can throw that in there.
Well, the coffee business actually is something that we did do previously, but we have left that. So now the coffee is just for fun, having people, introducing people to different things and stuff. But that was a really fun part of the journey.
Wow.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I admire people who are, number one, ambitious and go-getters and not risk-averse like myself, who do like these multiple businesses and then like transition to another one. So I think that's amazing that you guys are like, on to the next, what's next?
Well, don't let me fool you though. I'm not that risk-averse.
Girl, well, you're still an inspiration. So we'll head over to the blog questions. The very first one is, what lessons have you learned in your entrepreneurial journey?
So that, of course, there are many lessons that I've learned, but it's funny because the one thing that I wanted to talk about, you just talked about being risk averse. And the lesson I was going to say is that it's okay to fail. And so I think, I've recognized that as a child, I had this idea somehow that if I was going to be good at something, then I should pick it up pretty easily, or it should be not that complicated for me to do well at it. And of course, as I grew older, became an adult, I realized that's not true at all. Many of the things that we become great at, we have to put in a lot of time and effort, and it's not necessarily something that comes naturally to us. But I think that as an entrepreneur, it's like a whole nother level, because you have to accept the fact that you're going to make mistakes, you don't really know. A lot of the time, you don't know if you're making the right decision, you know? And so I think just embracing that, that growth mindset of, you know, no matter what happens, it's okay because I will keep moving forward, you know, and you can always make a different decision later. And I think that that's something that in the past held me back, and, you know, thinking like I have to make the right decision, and then you get stuck trying to figure out what is that right decision. So when you can embrace a growth mindset, you're like, I'm going to make this decision today. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. I'll make another decision tomorrow.
Yeah, I love that term growth mindset. I just have to admit I'm a recovering perfectionist. So hearing you say like, be okay to fail, I'm like cringing. I hate the word fail. I'm like, you know. But I know it's like a rewiring of my brain, and it's unlearning like maybe false beliefs. And I think entrepreneurship is great for that. And so you saying like growth mindset, it's not failure. It's like, okay, I know this is true. So I really, really appreciate that. Can you share an area that you felt like you maybe felt like failed, or you had this opportunity for growth?
That's a great question. I think I tried, so there was, for example, in my business, I had decided to go in a certain direction and offer this one particular service. And I started going in that direction, and it just was not gaining traction. And I felt like, man, this is a failure, you know? But it gave me the opportunity. So I felt like I was going backwards, because I was like, oh, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm kind of going to back to what I was doing. But I didn't go back to the same place. I actually moved forward, and I ended up being much better at what I was offering already. So it was like a completely different thing, actually. And, you know, so that was an example of, I was like, I'm going to put this in place. My business is changing. This is what I'm going to do. And then I'm like, this is not working for me. And so there was definitely that feeling of like, oh man, I invested all this time and energy. I invested some money, you know, and I don't have anything to show for it. And so I think that that's a very real way. Like, that's happened to me in the past 2 years. And then that's, I think, why I'm also recognizing now, like, as we move into 2022 and we're in this new year, I'm like, I'm leaving that behind, because I always end up where I need to be eventually, you know, so I have to let go of that.
You know what I love about what you said was you were moving in one direction, it didn't work out, so you just kind of switched gears. To me, it really speaks of a resilient mindset, and I know that that's something I've also struggled with, is that ability to like bounce back. I can totally get stuck, and I know a lot of with entrepreneurship, it's your mental perspective of things, like your mental health needs to be like this for you to keep going. So I really appreciate you sharing that. It's such an example of being resilient. So the next question is, what keys, and this could, you know, be a part of my last statement, but what keys would you attribute to obtaining sustainability in your business?
Right. So obviously there are many ways to answer that as well, but that is the one thing that I think about, is the ability to adapt and adjust and make changes. And so I think that for me has been one of the biggest things. Rather than, you know, it's easy when I get something, I get excited about all kinds of things. It's very easy for me to start things and, you know, get ideas for new things that I want to do. But it's harder to let go of those things when they're no longer serving me.
Wow.
And that's the big thing, like, to just be able to let go of it and say, okay, I can let go of that. Maybe it was good at the time, but not now.
Girl, you're hitting on so many things. I feel like I'm getting beat up, because when you were saying like being able to let go of something, I think for me that my brain is like quitting, like that. I interpret that as quitting.
Yeah.
Then it's like I have to unlearn that because, like you said, well, it's just not serving my business in this season. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think, it's all of us, whether or not you're a business owner, this is a common thing that many of us face, because I talk with people about it all the time. And that idea of, but I feel like I'm quitting, I'm letting somebody down, I'm letting myself down. And it's just not true. Like, you can let go of something, you can keep doing whatever is working right now. And who's to say you're not going to pick that back up,
Yeah, it's just being kind to yourself, I think. And even you talking about like the flexibility, like for me, all of these qualities, I don't have them, but I feel like I have this relationship with God to where he's leading me to be flexible, to bounce back, to be resilient. So that is what keeps me moving forward. But definitely I attest to everything that you're saying. So the last question is the free-for-all. Is there anything that you haven't mentioned already that you want my readers and audience to know about entrepreneurship in your journey?
I think that the things that we've been talking about, and as I was thinking about this conversation tonight, I kept thinking of the phrase, do it scared. And I think that what I have seen, or I know that what I've seen in my own journey, is that most of the time I've had to take a step before I felt ready. You don't, you're like, I'm not ready for this, but I have to do it. And so rather than, I'm a big believer in looking at practically, what do you need? How is this going to impact you? How's this going to impact your business, your family, whatever? But at some point, you have to kind of just take a step instead of waiting, because you're never going to know exactly how it will turn out. And so I would just encourage people, if you have something on your heart, you've looked at how it might work and how it will affect your life or your career or whatever, go ahead and take the step, because you'll never know until you do. And sometimes you need that to actually move forward. Sometimes you have to take that step first and then see how it works out.
Again, so scary, but what you're saying is true. My experience was like, I feel like God kind of dragged me. Like I was not trying to take the step, and it was like everywhere I went, it was just in my face, to where I was interviewing at other jobs, and they're like, why don't you start your own business? Like I was just like, oh my God, like I cannot with this. But yeah, I totally receive it. Take the step. It'll all work out. It's your purpose. You're going to attract your purpose. So it's going to come to you.
Yeah, exactly. And even if it changes, because mine has changed a lot. Like you said, we had a coffee business, right? And that was before I started this business. And so, but it was all part of the process. And I've learned so much. I wouldn't trade any of that.
That's a good word. I love it. The process, the story, the journey, it keeps unfolding, being flexible. So we're going to end our segment of Word of the Day Wednesdays, but I would love for my audience to know, where can they find you, if they need your services, if they want to learn more. So your website, your social media platforms, any contact information you want to share.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You can visit my website, lisanicholsconsulting.com. There's a lot of information there. I have my blog there as well. If you're on Instagram, you can find me at Love Your Niche. That's my handle on Instagram. That's also my handle on Facebook. And then if you want to look for me on LinkedIn, it's Lisa C. Nichols is my LinkedIn. So I'm happy to connect with you anywhere. Feel free to DM me, email me, whatever works for you. And I always love connecting with people and finding out what we have in common, how I can help your journey. So I look forward to connecting with some of your audience.
Thank you so much for your time today, Lisa. I thoroughly appreciate you. Again, this is Nicole D. Miller, author of Stories for the Urban Soul. You can go to my website to learn more about me at NicoleDMiller.com. You can visit my blog, betterthanwine.net. Follow me on social media on Instagram at Nicole.dmiller. On Facebook, facebook.com/HTOHB. You can email me, NicoleDMiller1983@gmail.com. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining, all of my people who joined. Make sure you tune in next Wednesday at 6 p.m. And if you miss this again, it'll be on my YouTube channel. Thanks, Lisa. Have a good night.
Thanks, Nicole.